Alright guys, we are going to talk about simple and compound interest again. And remember, we actually covered these on Monday and Tuesday today, so we're just going to look at them side by side. So simple interest is when interest is compounded continually. And remember, we learned about this on Monday. We did the equation I equals PRT. Okay, I stands for interest. P stands for principal. And remember, principal is the amount that you start with. R is the rate, which is usually a percent, but you have to turn it into a decimal. And then T is always going to be your time. And remember, time is always measured in years. Okay, then yesterday, so this is what we did on Monday. Okay, then yesterday we talked about compounded interest. So interest that is compounded n times a year, you use a totally separate formula, which we'll write down here at the bottom. A equals P 1 plus R over n up to the power of nt. Okay, remember that we learned this yesterday. The only thing that's new is the n. And remember that n tells you how many times whatever your investment is compounded each year. If it is annually, that means that it is only compounded once. Semi-annually means that your n is a 2. Quarterly breaks the year up into 4 parts, so it would happen 4 times. And then monthly, hopefully everybody knows we have 12 months in the year. So you have 2 choices of interest, which formula you use. If it is simple interest, you will always use this one. If it says compounded interest, you will always use this one. So today we're just going to look at both of these examples side by side so that hopefully you can tell which type we're doing. Now, just as kind of a fun fact for you, typically simple interest goes much faster than compounded interest. So if you're ever taking out a loan, okay, it would be to your advantage to do the first type, simple interest. Alright, let's look at some examples. Example number 1 says you invest $8,000 into a savings account. The savings account has a simple interest at 12%. How much interest will the account have 5 years later? Okay, the first thing that you should look for is not one of the words that I circled. You need to look for the type of interest so you know which equation you're doing. When I see that word simple, that tells me that I'm using this first equation right here, I equals. So I equals PRT. It says I invest $8,000. Well, if I'm going to invest it, that has to be my principal because I already have it. Then it says my interest is 12%. Well, then that makes my rate 0.12. And then if it's 5 years later, that tells me that my T is going to be 5. So let's plug in each of those numbers. So it would be I equals, my principal is $8,000, my rate is 0.12, and my T is 5 years later. Okay, from there we're going to times all of that out using our calculator. So hopefully you have that written down. I'm going to put my calculator up here. So it would be 8,000 times 0.12 times 5 years. And when I type all of that in, I get $4,800. Now remember, we talked about $4,800. If that is my interest, that is the extra amount that got added to my account. So part B says, well, then what will be the total value of the account? Well, in order for you to be able to find the total value, you're going to need to take the interest that you earned plus what you already had. So if I want the total, I'm going to need to take P plus I. Where P is what I already had, this is the extra money that my account earned. So if I do 8,000 plus 4,800, okay, then I would get, take a second, type that in. How much money would I have? Hopefully one of you typed it in, $12,800. Okay. Alright, next question. Okay, we are only going to do part A on this question, so cross out part B. Says Mary has $1,200 in a savings account with 10% interest compounded monthly. How much will she have in the account 6 years later? Okay, let's highlight some important stuff here. Says she has $1,200. That is her P. 10% means that her rate is 0.10. And then if it says compounded monthly, that's important for two reasons. The compounded tells you that you're using the A equals formula, and then the monthly tells you that your N is going to be 12, because it'd be 12 times a year. Then 6 years later is important because that's your T. And then once you have all of your numbers, you're ready to plug into that formula. So I'm going to go down just a little bit. We're using this formula right here. So it would be A equals, your P is 1,200. Then 1 plus R over N, well, R is 0.10, N is 12, up to the power of, that's your little caret key right here. Okay, that key right there. Up to the power of, and then NT would be 12 times 6. Then you would take all of that and just punch it into your calculator right there. Okay? So let's see what that looks like when we type it in. I would have 12,000, 1 plus. Okay, 12,000. Oops, too many. Okay, oh wait, no, that's right. Then 1 plus. Then I want 0.10 over 12. Close the parentheses. Then you need it up to the power of, and then we said it was 12 times 6 years. So we get $21,811.13. So if you invested that much, that's how it would be worth 6 years later. $21,811.13. Now, part of the reason, okay, that we're covering this entire unit is for you to be able to see how important it is that if you have money that you save it, because it really can make a big difference long term. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. We'll do a couple more off the back, and then you'll have time to work on your homework. Okay, next one says, you invest $12,000 into a bank account that has 6% simple interest. Several years later, the account has earned $1,250 in interest. How many years was the investment in the bank? Okay, we have $12,000. We have 6% simple interest. And then we know that the account has earned $1,250. The first thing you need to pick is which equation. If it says simple, you're doing I equals PRT. Now, if I invested $12,000, that's your P. Remember that invest means that you take your money and you put it to the bank. So you had to already have that to be able to invest it. Okay, 6% is your rate. So if it's 6%, that would be 0.06. And then notice that this time they didn't tell me T. Instead, they tell me several years later, this is how much I've earned in interest. They gave you your I. So let's take all those numbers, plug them into my formula. So it would be 1,250 equals, okay, that's my I right here. Then my principal is 12,000. Then my rate is 0.06. Oops, 0.06. And then my T, I don't know. So I'm just going to leave that as a T. Now remember, anytime that your unknown is on the same side as two other numbers, you just need to combine those. So I'm going to take 12,000 and 0.06. I'm going to multiply those together in my calculator. 12,000 times 0.06 simplifies to 720. So this is going to be now 720 T. Then if I want to get T totally by itself and there's a number in front of it, I need to divide to get rid of this because these are multiplied. So divide by 720, divide by 720. Then in the calculator, I'd take 1250, divide by 720, and I get 1.736. 1111111, which would just be about 1.7. And that would be in years. So almost 2 years. All right, next one, look at number 6. says Kelly invested $3,000 in a bank with a 15% interest rate, compounded monthly when she was 12. So important, maybe important. Then it says she just graduated from high school and she's 18. So that is important for several reasons. The first reason is because if she started it when she was 12 and now she's 18, we can figure out how many years has the money been in the bank. She put it in when she was 12, now she's 18, so we need to figure out her time. It would be 6 years. Okay, then part B asks us to find the value of her savings account. Anytime that it says compounded, you're doing the A equals formula. So she invested $3,000, that's her principal. Then 15% is her interest rate, and then compounded monthly tells us that her N is 12. So value of her savings account, A equals her principal is $3,000, 1 plus. Her R was 15%, would be 0.15 over. Her N is 12 years, 12 months. And then up to the power of 12 times 6. Then from there, you're just going to punch that into your calculator. So I have 3,000, 1 plus 0.15, divide by 12, up to the power of 12 times 6. Okay, once you type all of that in, that's going to tell you how much is in her bank account at that point. So we have $7,337.76. Okay, next question says the tuition at her dream college is only $4,500. Will she be able to afford it without getting a loan? Yes. Okay, look. Because she's going to have enough money as long as she saved it. She only had $3,000, but because she didn't just spend it, she put it in the bank, she's going to end up having enough money. Okay? Alright, last one that we're going to do is number 3. It says Janet has $400 in a simple interest savings account. Simple interest. 12 years later, the account has grown to $900. Question A, how much has the account grown? If I want to know how much the account has grown, I need to subtract. It started at 400, and now all of a sudden it's at 900. So how much did it grow? Take away, it would be, okay, think about it, 900, take away 400, it has grown $500. And remember, the amount that it's grown is her interest. Okay, remember, that's the extra money that she earned from her account. Okay, then part B says, find the interest rate the banker gave Janet. Okay, well, I equals PRT. Remember, I know I'm using that formula because it said simple. So 500 equals, her principal was $400 that she started with. Her rate is what we're looking for, so I'm just going to put an R there. And then the amount of time, it says it was 12 years later. So 12. Now remember, anytime that your R is on the same side as two numbers, you need to combine those two numbers. So in my calculator, I'm going to take 400, I'm going to times it by 12. 400 times 12 is 4,800. So I have 500 equals 4,800 times R. And then from there, if I want R by itself, I need to divide by the number that's next to R. So I'm going to divide by 4,800 on both sides. Then I would take my calculator and divide that out. So 500 divide by 4,800. And we get 0.10. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, that's a really small number. Remember that that's a rate. So if my R is 0.10, what percent would that be? You would just have to bump your decimal place over twice. So 1, 2, 10%. Okay? Okay, let's go ahead and just set the last one up and then you can get on to your review. So, highlight your important things. He invests $1,000, 6% interest, compounded quarterly. What is the amount of money he'll have in 5 years? So hopefully you can see if he invests that means that he must have had it. You can't invest money that you don't have. Okay, 6% tells me that my R is 0.06. Remember, move that decimal twice. Then it also says that it's compounded quarterly. it's compounded quarterly, that means that your n is 4. That also means that we're doing the A equals formula. Then if it's 5 years later, that's your T. Alright, so A equals, P comes first, 1,000 in the front. 1 plus, then it would be R over N. Our R is 0.06, our N is 4. Then up to the power of, then it would be your rate, or I'm sorry, your N times your T. So your N would be 4, and your T would be 5. Then from there, you would just type that whole thing into your calculator, and you would have your amount. Okay? So your goal for right now is that you need to finish your homework. So you are working on homework 9. Okay, tomorrow we will review in class, and then on Friday you will have a quiz. Okay, good luck. Be sweet to your sub. You can go to the bathroom one at a time and be good. I'll see you tomorrow.